In this episode, I'm going to unbox the Ark Success Pack of parts for 2026-2027.
Welcome to Advanced Construction Videos, where we show you how to tackle rocketry, building techniques, and more. On our website, we sell kits, motors, building supplies, and electronics. So come and learn, shop, build, and fly when you visit us at apogeerockets.com.
Hi, I'm Tim Van Milligan from Apogee Components. Every year, we have the Ark competition, and we make a success pack of all the parts that could be used to build some rockets for the competition. Now, every year the contest rules change a little bit, so if you're watching this after 26-27 season, the pack might be different, but in general, this is kind of what you're going to get. Now, we supply this for teams that don't know what they're doing yet. When you're first starting out, it can be overwhelming because you don't know what parts you're going to need. So we created this success pack that has basically everything you need to build 2 rockets based on the rules of that season. Now, we don't give you the instructions on how to design the rocket, but we give you all the parts you could use that will meet the criteria. So when I first open it up, I'm going to take out the big stuff first. So these are the tubes and the wood. So you're going to need to make your own fins. So we've supplied 2 big sheets of wood. One of them is Basswood, which is really hard. The other was balsa wood, which is really light. So you have your choice of what you want to go, hard and strong or light and high. Balsa wood has been used for decades to build rockets, so don't think that you have to use something hard. Next we have tubes, and typically in this kit there are 2 different sizes, and then of these sizes they have different configurations. So we have this size right here, which is called a BT80, and this is a BT70, 2.6 inches, 2.25 inches. And these particular ones are slotted, and so you'll just knock these little tabs out, and then your tube is pre-slotted for fins. So sometimes you might want to surface mount your fins. Other times you might want to go through the wall. So we've provided some through the wall, and these are marked for 3 different fins, or 3 fins on the rocket. Okay. Also in here is a sheet of instructions, but they're not a specific instruction, they're just kind of generic. So for example, how to build an E-bay that will go into the foam nose cones, how to use rivets to keep your rocket parts together, because rivets are used for if you want to temporarily and securely hold a rocket together, but you still want to be able to disassemble it later. So you might want to attach the rocket parts together with rivets and fly it, and then pull the rivets out, and that allows you to pull parts out of the rocket like your egg and your payload to get at them easily. So that's what rivets are for. There's also how to restrain rocket motors, how to use the rail buttons and the rail guides, how to fold a parachute, how to install the engine retainers, how to make a shock cord mount, how to make large fins, and then how to do through the wall fins. And we have a template here on the back that you'll use to trace your design on here, and it will give you the correct size tab for the pre-slotted tubes. That's about all that's in that one. Also in here, you're going to get 2 parachutes. This one is an 18-inch, and this is a 24-inch. Now, these are nylon cloth parachutes, so these are really nice parachutes. Everybody loves the Apogee parachutes. They're probably the best in the industry. They're really soft. They got really strong cords, and if you look at how the cords are sewn, they're on there double, so they're like really strong. They're not going to pull out on you. We also do something unique on Apogee parachutes. We do one of the shroud line loops that goes not in the direction you'd expect. And there's a reason for that. I can get them untangled here. You got two lines on the outside that go around the corners, and then one in the inside that goes across the canopy like this. And the reason for that is so that when you gather up your lines and you're holding them, there's no twisting right here where all the lines come together. Typically, there's one that's twisted, and that one twisted one will cause the rocket to oscillate. So we make ours special so that there is less chance of oscillating, so they come down nice and straight. This year, there's also, it requires the rocket to have a transition in it, so we're including 2 plastic transitions. And these are kind of universal transitions that they can be applied or attached on your rocket in either direction. So you might have the skinny end of your rocket at the bottom, or you might have the skinny end at the top. You'll also notice on these there's a small groove right here and right here, and that allows you, if you want, to cut off this part here. This is called the parachute loop. If you cut that off on that side and cut that off on that side, then this becomes completely hollow. So the ejection charge can go right through the middle. So you can have a long rocket and you'll know exactly where it's going to separate. It won't be here, it'll be at the nose cone. But you can also leave them attached and attach the parachute either here if your big end is on the bottom, or on this end if the small end is on the bottom. So you'll get 2 of those. Also in the big parts are these, and these are egg protectors, and you'll see these are foam molded and they're nice and soft, so they provide a lot of cushioning for the egg. Basically the way you use it, you just drop your eggs in there and just bring them together. In some contest years, they only require a single egg. And so if you got a single egg, what you do is you just take a pair of scissors and you just cut here right in the middle of the groove, and then you can fold them this way. And basically that gives you actually 2 egg protectors, even though you only get 1 set of these. So there's 2 sizes. There's the BT70 size, and this is the BT80 size. Also, for protecting your rocket, we have 2 nose cones. And again, these are made of, this is actually a harder rubber than those. It's made, and if you feel them, they're nice and smooth, so you don't need to sand them or anything. You can just put them on top of your rocket. And the advantage of having a foam nose cone, say your rocket's coming down head first, that extra foam padding there is going to give you more protection for your eggs. If you look on the back end, there's a recessed area. This is for your altimeter if you decide to put the altimeter up into the nose cone. And I'll show you that here in just a second. Also this year requires probably a 29 millimeter rocket motor. So for our engine mount tubes, these are 29 millimeter. Some years it's a 24. So they may be different, but these are nice sturdy tubes for your engine mounts. This right here are some decals. The most important ones is the Apogee one right here. Put that on your rocket to show your pride in your Apogee products. But there's also center of gravity and center of pressure stickers right here. You want to put those on your rocket because when you go through safety check-in, they're going to measure your rocket. They're going to be able to find the center of gravity, but you're going to mark that center of pressure based on your calculations with the RockSim software. We also have centering rings. Again, the 2 sizes of tubes, so there's 2 sizes of rings. The ring right here at the top, this is called a bulkhead ring, and its purpose is to block off a tube completely. These can be really useful for tube couplers, not tube couplers, for your the payload bay that holds the egg, if you decide to go that way. Okay, so now we're getting into the smaller parts. And there's a lot of these, so let me pull them out. Trying to get them so they don't all fall on the table. Okay, so first off, there is some Kevlar, and this is for shock cords and for holding things together, kind of like, you know, it makes sense to put a lanyard on your altimeter in case the rocket comes apart. At least your altimeter will still be connected to a big part of the rocket, making it easier to find. This is 300-pound Kevlar. This is really good for shock cords. Make your shock cords really long. If you need to know how to do that, be sure to come to the Apogee website. We have videos and Peak of Flight newsletters about designing rockets. Lots of good stuff there. Also in here are a lot of tubes and rings. I'll pull the rings out first. So you'll notice that there's different types of rings, not only different types, but different sizes. So these right here are all BT70 size. You got some different diameters in here. So here's one with a 24 millimeter. This is a 29 millimeter. These are plywood. These are really strong. But if you need to cut some weight out of your rocket, we also include foam centering rings. So these are foam core centering rings. This is a BT70 to an 18 millimeter. These are also BT80 to a BT20, I'm sorry. These are really useful for making payload bays. So this tube right here will fit your altimeter. Most altimeters will fit inside of it. So you can actually just glue them on there like that. There's a bulkhead disc here. This is a bulkhead disc, and it's got a hole in it. And there's a reason for that. That's to allow air in, because your altimeter needs to sense the outside air. So if we put a hole in the middle of it, that allows you to let your altimeter breathe. But there's also, if you can use these on the foam nose cone, you'll just glue it in there like that. Then you can cut this off here. You can trim this to any length you want. Some altimeters are short, some are longer. So you can put that in there, and you put the bulkhead here, and then there's a tube coupler. And this is what's in the instructions. So this tube coupler will join it right here with this bulkhead right there. And that, you just wrap one piece of tape around the outside. So this is glued to this side, not to this side. And it allows you to remove and replace the cap to keep the altimeter inside the nose cone so it doesn't fall out. So that's really useful. I don't see too many people use it. I don't know if they know how useful that really is. I'll get all the centering rings out of the way. There's also larger tubes. Again, these could be used for engine mounts. They can also be used for altimeter bays. This one inside of here is called a bulkhead disc. And again, if you were using that as an E-bay, you'd probably want to plug one end so the altimeter doesn't come out. It can only come out in one direction. Also in here are some shock cord anchors. And if you're familiar with the old Estes kits, you know how those work. And then most of the other small stuff in here, all this other little hardware. You got a bunch of engine hooks if you want to use engine hooks. The direction that most people are going these days are actually screw-on engine retainers. So this is a two-piece screw-on engine retainer. This part right here would be glued onto the tube, and this goes inside the rocket, and you would put your motor in, and then you just screw this on, and that will hold the engine in. It prevents it from going forward or coming out the back. So there's two sizes of engine retainers. There's a 29 millimeter and a 24, and two of each. So you get a lot of options for putting in engines. These right here are called rail guides, and there's two types. This one right here is the universal rail guide. This is if your rocket is a standard diameter. Because our rocket has to be two different diameters this year for this contest year, we also got one that is a standoff. So this one would go on the small tube, this one would go on the big tube, and that way they're aligned so that it can slide easily along the launch rail. So these are rail guides. There's also rail buttons. This is a rail button. So you get also two rail buttons. Ours are a three-piece rail button. I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but you got this part right here, which goes on the inside of the rocket, and this is called a weld nut. And then this little plastic piece is the button itself. And then there's a screw that's used to hold everything together. So these are really strong. They're probably never going to break off your rocket. A lot of people loved using the rail buttons. There's also some parachute swivels, which are these, and these are kind of like fishing swivels, but the purpose is to make sure that the parachute doesn't start twisting itself as it's coming down. Because if it starts twisting the lines up, it's going to decrease the drag, and then the rocket's going to fall faster. And for this competition, you want it to fall at a nice constant rate. So you don't want it oscillating, you don't want it twisting, and that's what the swivels do. And then finally, there's 6 plastic rivets, and I kind of talked about these before, and these are also 2 pieces. One part right here will be inserted into the hole in the rocket, and the instructions tell you how to do this. You're going to drill a 5/32 inch hole through 2 parts of the rocket. This goes in, and then when you put the plunger in, it spreads out the fingers on the inside, and that locks it in place. So these are good for making a secure but temporary attachment of your rocket so that you can take parts out easily. And it also makes the rocket shorter so you can transport it in shorter sections. You know, if you're going to be packing it into a box, you know, getting it nice and short means it's easier to pack and take with you on your journey across the country to the finals in Virginia. So this was the 2026 to 2027 contest year success pack of parts. They do change from year to year. At the end of the contest season in May, we come out with a new version for the next year. So it's going to look a little bit different, but most of the parts are going to be kind of very similar. So if you want more information about this contest or about Apogee Components, come to our website. It's www.apogeerockets.com. My name is Tim Van Milligan. May the winds be light, may the skies be blue, may all your rockets fly straight and true.